Hi everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In today's MTPredictor video, I'd like to look at how we approach analysing the market with MTPredictor. In fact, actually this is a good approach to take no matter what analysis or approach you do. Because what we do is we start with the larger degree trend. This is what you must do to try and get which direction the market is moving in on the large degree trend. Now the important point on this is that this is cyclical. In other words, markets go through cycles, so there'll be periods when the large degree trend is unclear and therefore you should not trade, and then there'll be periods when the market is in a clear position and that's when you can trade. So the idea of being able to trade all markets all of the time frankly doesn't happen. In other words, the markets go through cycles. That's the most important thing. So the trick is waiting for a market to come into a clear picture and then be able to identify a trade from that. So the first thing we do is look to the higher time frame chart. So as an example, I'm going to look at the ES, that's the E-mini, S&P 500 E-mini from the 25th of April. I'm going to go out to the higher time frame chart. So if I'm looking to trade on 3, 5 and maybe 2 minute charts, I'll go out to the 15-minute to get large degree support and resistance areas. Now for this we have our DPs in MTPredictor. These are great because they're leading indicators. So what I'll use our training mode and take the market back to just after it opened yesterday. You can see that the market gapped down a bit and started to go down. So what do we do from this? Well, we go back to the prior pivot, we right mouse click, we place a DP level on. Can you see how that's on the chart in advance? In other words, that gives us an area of if the market gets down to that level, we're not projecting that it will, but if it gets there, we can then look for an area of support on the 15-minute chart and therefore move down to the shorter time frame chart for potential trade opportunities. But the point being is it's there ready for you before the market even gets there. Let's turn training mode off and you can see that's exactly what happened. The market came down, it actually made a low at that level. In fact, that called the very low of the day for you. So how would you have traded it? Well, you'd have gone down to the shorter time frame chart. So let's have a look at the 3-minute chart, and what you'd have been looking for are trade setups coming in at the higher time frame support. And this is the idea of waiting until the market comes to you and not try to force what the market's doing. We're not trying to trade in and around here earlier or later. We're waiting until the market gets into this area where we know the picture's clear. One thing that was very nice here was one of our what we call our VS setups. In other words, on this particular bar here, which was the 1109 bar, we had a red VS spike on our volume that indicated that this particular bar was making unusually high volume and therefore professionals were stepping in. But which way? This was all happening at larger degree support, but if we go back to the prior small pivot here, we again place the DP on, see how the market reversed at the 1112 bar on the bar after the high volume. That indicated that professionals were stepping in and looking to move the market higher. If you'd been really aggressive, you could have looked to done a long trade here as the market moved higher. If I right mouse click, do Elliott wave intermediate, this is also a 5-wave sequence. So the first place for a market to go to was the DP from the prior wave 4. That's where it went up to before it went sideways a bit. If it then exceeded that, which it did later, it would then go on to the DP from the start of the sequence, which was right up here, which it didn't get there before the market closed. But that was a very small risk to reward, because the next point is we place our risk reward around our trades to make sure that when we want to come into a trade, the risk reward is greater than 2 to 1. And can you see here that this was only a 1.6 to 1. So even though the market came in to our support zone perfectly, gave us a VS setup which indicated professionals were entering the market, there was not enough potential profit compared to risk to take a trade off the low. That would have been nice because that would have been the very bar of the low of the day. However, a bit later on, if I go down to a 2-minute chart, what happened was the market went up, it then came down here into this point here for a ABC correction. So if I do Elliott wave intermediate, that's an ABC correction. You can't see it on here, but if I go to our new NinjaTrader 8 add-ons, we have a new trade setup in these NinjaTrader 8 add-ons. And if I draw the chart here, I'll just zoom in a bit, or zoom out a bit. This was our same low coming in at our 15-minute support. Market made an initial rally up, then made our ABC correction into this buy setup here. But can you see how this was an HG, or what we call a Holy Grail trade setup? Why was this so good? This was good because if I place the analysis on, we're not looking to come out at our first target here. We're looking to come out at the typical wave 3 WPT. Why? Because this was a major low, all set up by our 15-minute support zone we placed on the chart even before the day opened. This was our initial rally. This was our initial correction into our wave 2. After wave 2, you tend to get a strong wave 3 rally, and that's exactly what the market did after consolidating for a while, came up just before close to hit that level. But why was this trade setup so good? It's because the profit is large in relation to the initial risk. Remember, we use correct position sizing to keep our initial risk small under control. So this trade would have produced a profit of approximately 4.7R, or 4.7 times greater than the initial risk. In its own right, this would have been a standard trade setup with our new DP trend indicator. You can see that our old SDF indicator here was still red. This was a lagging indicator like most indicators. However, our new DP trend indicator, which uses the position of the major DPs on the chart time frame you're looking at, was actually black. So this allowed you to then take this particular trade setup in the long direction. So as you can see here, if I go back to the MTPredictor 7.5, go back to our 3-minute chart, how we managed to project an area in advance of our 15-minute chart that then came in and caught the low of the day. How we also then looked at our volume on our VS setup to nail the very bar of the low of the day. So that set the large degree trend to be up. We then had a look at our shorter time frame charts where a setup was coming in automatically on our 2-minute chart on our ES on our NinjaTrader 8 add-ons with a TS3 Holy Grail buy setup that produced a very nice trade setup there as well. But can you see how this was all set up because of our 15-minute analysis? And this is what most amateur traders never understand, in that they try to do trades every day or all the time. That's quite simply not the way the markets unfold. They go through cycles. In other words, sometimes the markets are random, you don't know what they're doing. Sometimes they're predictable, and that's when you should look to do a trade. So this is why we look at the higher time frame charts. We place our DPs out there in advance to then see whether the market comes to us. When it does, and comes to us in a nice clear clean pattern, like it did yesterday where we nailed the low of the day, you can see there perfectly. We then go to the shorter time frame charts to look to then do the actual trade setups. So hopefully this has been a good example of how to use MTPredictor to first of all analyze the market to get your areas of support and resistance, and then once the market comes to you in a clear pattern, to then be able to look at volume to see potential trade setups, or our own MTPredictor automatic trade setups like this in the direction of the clear pattern and the large degree trend to be able to identify your trade setups. Those trade setups are then qualified by our risk control. In other words, we only look to take trades that have a good risk reward analysis. That's why if I go back to this first one here, this wasn't good to take off the very low bar of the day because the profit was not greater than 2 to 1. However, this Holy Grail trade setup a bit later on was, because the profit as it unfolded was approximately 4.7 times greater than the initial risk. And that's what we do in MTPredictor, in how to do your MTPredictor analysis to project in advance and then uncover great trade setups as they come your way once you've done your original longer time frame analysis. Also a good little sneak preview of our new NinjaTrader 8 add-ons that should be coming soon.